Hello, fellow Farm Sim fans. It's not only Hump Day, it's Farming Simulator News Day, and it seems rather fitting that we're talking about groundwork today on Wednesday. If you're here to figure out how to get the lumps out of your mama's gravy, then you're out of luck. But we will learn about getting lumps out of your fields. So let's get to it. As I have said before, one of the biggest struggles for players of Farm Sim 22 will be those who bring baggage over from Farm Sim 19. We need to forget everything we think we know about Farming Simulator because there's so much that seems to be changing. And ground states and soil care is just one of many. In Farming Simulator 19, we had it easy with respect to ground states. We have a plowed state, cultivated state, seeded and planted, as well as a harvest state. But with Farming Simulator 22, it's out with the old and in with the new. There are 13 ground states and textures to keep track of. Let's see if we can learn a little bit more about some of them today. By now we have seen in fact sheets and on Giant's website various mulchers showing up. If you'd wondered what these will be used for, then today is your lucky day. Post-harvest, farmers can now mulch the stubble left over. This will aid in incorporating plant matter into the soil, and as a byproduct, players can experience a yield boost for the next crop in that field. But it does not end there. Not only can we mulch the stubble from last year's harvest, but we can also use special mulchers to keep the area between our grape and olive rows tidy by adding grass cuttings into the soil to improve their yield also. It looks like my analysis of the mulcher from last week's forestry themed fact sheet was correct, in that we can remove bushes as well as tree stumps with them in forested areas to aid in our land expansion projects. By now, we have seen the ELO Stone Picker in action during the Gamescon gameplay reveal, as well as in some B-roll on this very channel. Today we're going to learn more about stones and what can be done with them. When we work the soil, the amount and size of the stones that come to the surface will depend on the kind of implement we are using in the field. Subsoilers will dig up larger rocks compared to, say, a cultivator. The one option we have seen so far is that a stone picker can be used to collect the stones off the field. From there, we can take them to a stone crusher for a small amount of revenue in return. Getting rid of stones is important as well, as they will damage your machinery, and from the sound of the Giant's blog post, stones will breed like rabbits if they are left in the field, as they will increase their numbers. Pet rocks for everyone. For smaller stones, you can forego a stone crusher and send them back to where they came from with the help of a roller. Now, this isn't the only use for a roller. No, sir. Once you have seeded your fields, you can once again use the roller to gain additional bonus on the next harvest. Now, if playing with rolling stones is not your thing, then you can always just turn them off in the game settings menu. But the story does not end there. Farmers that have interest in all things grass can also benefit from a good roll in the hay. Grass. Rolling your grass fields will give you a fertilization state, but this will come at a cost. If it is done at any point after the first grow stage, your grass will be knocked back to the first grow stage. So be sure to only roll a freshly cut field after picking up your grass or hay, of course. So far, we have talked about mulching stubble after harvest, collecting stone off a plowed or cultivated field, and rolling the soil to prepare for sowing or after sowing. Now it's time to take a look and see what some of these other ground textures that will be available to us in Farm Sim 22 look like. In total, we will see 13 unique ground textures in Farm Sim 22 today. First up, we have stubble tillage. This is what your field will look like after you have used the mulcher to cut last year's harvest stubble. Then we have a new plow texture. We saw this on an image released by the Izeki company a few weeks ago, also over on their Twitter. Moving from plowed, we have a new cultivated texture. Once the stones have been collected or they have been pressed back down from the depths from which they came, we have a new seedbed texture. From here we have up to 3 different textures to pick from. We have a sown textures, which will be used, of course, with a seeder. We have a planted texture, which will come from using an in-game planter, of course. Now, I really do like the line spacing there from the planting discs. And then finally, we have ridge for sugarcane and potatoes. Once we have sown our field, if you wish to get an additional yield bonus that we talked about earlier, you want to run a roller over the field again, and when you do so, the resulting rolled seedbed will look like this. Now, what about all of those that wish to do no-till seeding? Well, Giants has got you covered in regard, because here we have a direct sown texture that is a mix of stubble tillage and the sown texture. At that point, what is a farmer to do than to sit back on the porch and watch the crops grow? Once they have grown and we have taken them out of the field, we have the harvest ready look. There isn't a lot of detail on the next one, but from the looks of it, I'm going to surmise that this is what we'll get when we take a field that is in the harvest ready state and run a disc or power harrow through the field. In that instance, you just might get the harvest ready 2 look. And then finally, we have the 2 texture states of a grass field. We have regular grass and cut grass. This should not be mixed up with grass windrow though. I think what we are seeing here is the actual underlying round texture of a grass field before and after it's cut. That once again brings us to the conclusion of another fact-filled journey down all things Farming Simulator 22. As you can see, FS22 can offer far more depth to your virtual farming than ever before. What do you think of the new gameplay elements with respect to stones, mulching, and rollers? How about those new textures? Sound off in the comments below. Be sure to like this video if you found it not only educational, but also entertaining. As well, hit that subscribe button if you've not done so already, and flick the bell icon next to it to get the notifications when the next FS22 news video drops. Lastly, if any of this information has tickled your fancy into wanting to pre-order Farming Simulator 22, then what time is better than the present? Take a look at my affiliate links down in the description below. And until next time, happy farming!